This is living again.
This is living. This is living. Finally, the relief.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, SchizophrenicNYC. I am Michelle Hammer, your resident schizophrenic, sharing stories of all kinds of people. And today I have Jules here, artist and advocate. And today we're talking about ECT. Jules, what does ECT stand for?
Electroconvulsive Therapy.
And what exactly would you say electroconvulsive therapy is, in the easiest terms that you could even describe it to someone who's never even heard of ECT before?
It's where you reset your brain with a shock and a seizure. You anesthetize and then you come back, and it should help with mood disorders.
What conditions is ECT approved for, and when would you get it?
It's approved for mood disorders, mostly major depressive disorder. It can help with mania and depression. In my case, I did it for psychosis and mood disorder as schizoaffective disorder.
Was it like the last step? Did you try every medicine, every therapy, and finally they were like, you need ECT?
I was treatment resistant for a while, and then they put me on a medication that did some of the work, but the ECT is what really got rid of my most disturbing hallucination. I used to see a red onion that would scream at me, and luckily with the ECT it stopped the onion from screaming.
Was it an onion that would just scream mean, horrible things?
Yeah, or just like blood-curdling screams.
An onion doing blood-curdling screams? Really?
Yeah. I think it was because one Thanksgiving I chopped like 18 onions, and
That's a lot of onions.
it was a lot.
And that gave you that hallucination?
Mm-hmm.
What made it so angry? Just
Every morning I'd wake up to and I'd be like, seriously?
and it was one onion?
One big red onion.
Do you eat onions now?
I like onions.
You do like onions.
I like sweet onions.
Sweet onions.
Yeah.
Cooked onions.
Like caramelized onions?
Caramelized onions. Okay, I'm just wondering about like your relationship with onions now, because you did get ECT to get rid of an onion. I'm just wondering, I'm being a little bit silly. I'm just wondering, how do you still feel about onions? Like if somebody came up to you and was like, onion, like how they used to do Fruit Ninja, whatever. I'm just kidding. Also, I want to go through some misconceptions. When you think of ECT, you think of the movies where the person's strapped to a chair and they put those two things there and they're, which maybe was how it's done when it was a horrible asylums back in like the 30s or something. What is ECT like?
Oh, it's so different than what you see in the media. It's total voluntary. You go in, you lay on the bed, they give you IV for anesthesia. You're out. They put a bite plate in, make sure you don't break your teeth, and then you wake up and you're in the recovery room. And for me, I found that really like, wow, everything's so clear. So what they do is they put little electrodes on your head with some gel to make it conductive. And then I got unilateral, which means only one side. And one side, when you get one side done, it's less impactful to your memory. Like people say, oh my God, I forgot many years of my life with ECT. Not if you get unilateral and if you get someone who knows what they're doing.
Many of you might know Rachel Starr Withers. She told me she got ECT, and one thing she said to me is that she doesn't know what she just forgot. She doesn't know what she doesn't remember, but she's glad she doesn't remember it. So that was her experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so she also said positive things about ECT. But even when she said that to me, I had no idea what getting ECT was like, because I really knew nothing about it except from what I saw in movies. And I was like, just thinking in my head, wow, that must have been so painful. But now that I know that you're knocked out and you don't feel it at all, it just seems like it's really not as intense or scary as I actually thought it did.
I've had 30 treatments, and by the 30th, the clarity of mind, and like I would still hallucinate, but they'd be so translucent. My mood was so much better. I could be happy again without going manic, and all the depression that I had was totally gone after the 30th.
Wow. How did your struggle change in a way?
I was much less overwhelmed by my symptoms. Before I started, I was really scared. I was really anxious. I didn't know what the ECT was going to do to me, and that was part of the anxiety. But after a few, and I got the hang of it, it changed my life for the better.
So you're really glad that you got ECT?
Yes, I am.
I'm glad that it helped you, and it's good, and that you're changing like the whole everyone's opinion of what ECT can do. Did you have to stay in the hospital while you were getting ECT?
For the first week, they make you stay. They schedule you in the morning, you come in, you can't eat or drink anything. And then it's usually done in like 30 minutes.
Right when it's over and you wake up, how do you feel?
You're a little foggy, but for me, my hallucinations were like totally chilled. Like my eels were, oh, I hallucinate eels and lemons. And they were so translucent and they weren't making noise, and it was such a clarity of mind that I'd never had before. Because I've been hallucinating for most of my life, and it was like, wow, this is what normal people live with.
That's amazing, because actually I say the same thing when I first went on my first medication that ever actually worked for me. I say that I took it, and then all of a sudden I was like, is this how real people feel? Is this what like life is supposed to be like? Like normal people don't just second guess everything they say all the time. They don't think that people are thinking about them and talking about them all the time. They just sit and enjoy life and are calm and can take a nap. Like, what is life? So it's kind of like just that finally having relief of all the stress and the anxiety, and it's just gone.
And also, it really helped with a delusion I had. I had a delusion about that I thought that if I watched TV or used a computer, that I would taint this chemical that was in my body, and I believed that the chemical helped create like a 2D image and make it 3D. It was very strange. But anyway, I didn't use computers, didn't use TV, I didn't even use my phone. But then after the ECT, I was brought back to reality. I was like, wait, what am I doing this, and why am I doing it, and why did I live like for 4 years without using these pieces of technology? And then I was like, wait, this is living again.
This is living. This is living. Finally, the relief. Finally, it's living life. Finally.
Yes.
So that's great. You finally found something, and everybody has to, like, that's with the mental illness. You have to find something that finally makes you feel good, and whatever it takes, that's what it takes. Do you think you're ever going to get ECT again?
I think I may, because my hallucinations have come back, and it's a great temporary fix. But I'm not back to where I was before ECT. That was really bad. But I think every time you get it, you build on it. So I'm thinking of going back in a few months and getting what they call maintenance treatment.
Maintenance treatment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like brain maintenance.
Yeah, it's like once a month you just go for one treatment, and
Will you have to be in the hospital, or you can do?
you do outpatient.
You do outpatient.
The only time you have to be in the hospital is for the first 3, because they measure your EKG, they measure your EEGs. They make sure that your heart is fine and that you can take the anesthesia.
Okay. Why do you think there's so much stigma about ECT?
Well, you have movies like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and A Beautiful Mind, and it's so vilified. But people don't realize that it actually, like, it's not like the movies. And people who get ECT today, it's a whole different process, experience. And for me, it worked better than any medication.
So it's really good. If you need it, get it, and don't be ashamed that you got it, because it's really so helpful.
Right. I don't think it should be a last line of treatment. Actually, McLean out in Harvard said that it should be a first line of treatment.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he said that?
Because it's like a brain reset. And you don't have to go through every antipsychotic in the book to find out, oh, whoops, none of these work for me, when you could have done ECT first and had a recovery. And
I would think that people wouldn't want that first, because it's so stigmatized. Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't want to think that they're like, oh my God, I'm getting this. Oh, this is the first thing I'm getting. I must be so sick. Oh no, oh no, no. When at first always people are denying their diagnosis so many times. If you suggest something like that to them, when people don't even want to be suggested medication in the first place.
Well, I was freaked out when I was put on my first antipsychotic. I was like, oh my God, look at me, I'm nuts. And when I heard about ECT, I was like, oh, that's going to make me even worse. Or, oh my God, look where I am in life.
The self-stigma.
Yeah, the self-stigma. And people around me like, whoa, you must be really sick to need ECT.
I was diagnosed with a mental illness refused to believe I had a mental illness and went to the psych ward 3 separate times. So who was right, who was wrong?
I know. I tried every medication in the book, and I do the protocol, like stay on it for 6 weeks and stuff. And
You're better than me. I give it a day. I give it a day. If I don't like it after a day, I'm like, I'm done.
I know. It was so funny. Well, actually, I had a friend who lived in New York, and she did 24 ACT treatments, and now she's doing a PhD program in neuroscience out in Washington State. And I was like, wait, how did you do that? And she was like, ECT, it helped me a lot. But she wasn't broadcasting it. She didn't tell anybody she had it. It was like our little secret. And she was like, you go get ECT, you're going to be able to achieve things you never thought you could achieve with schizophrenia. And I was like, really? And then lo and behold, I do ECT and I get into Columbia. And I was like,
should I do ECT and
yes,
get into Harvard?
You should.
Maybe I'm going to get ECT and get into a really good school or something. I think this is an ad for ECT right now. Do ECT and you will get into an Ivy League school, says Jules. This was sponsored by ECT. How often now do you disclose that you got ECT?
I used to not talk about it at all because of the self-stigma. One time I told one of my art professors that I was getting ECT because I would come in with a hospital bracelet on, and I'd come in and paint in the afternoon. He was like, why do you have the bracelet on? I'm like, oh, sorry, I just came from ECT.
Was your art different?
No, but my handwriting was.
Oh, interesting, really?
Yeah, I used to have like really tiny, meticulous handwriting that I could barely read. But now it's flowy, cursive-y. It's much more relaxed. I don't know why.
So ECT gives you better handwriting?
At least for me.
ECT gives you better handwriting. This is an ad for ECT. But you said you got 30 treatments. What's the average amount of treatments people get from ECT?
Usually it starts with 3, which is 1 week. Usually people do 6 to 8. I did 30 because it was working so well that I wanted to keep on the momentum.
How long do the treatments last?
For me, it lasted about a year and a half. Full, I'm not hallucinating that much. I'm really functioning. I'm living my best life. And then things started to creep back and I was upset. And so like once the depression came back and once I had more eels, like I used to have 2. Now I have 5. And so hopefully if I go back for ECT, some of that will be diminished.
You definitely want to get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Or you said you did the one side. Do you think you'll do 2 sides?
No, I'd only ever do 1 side for memory.
When would you really recommend ECT to somebody for their treatment?
If you have persistent psychosis, depression, or mania, I would definitely say it's an option. I also think it can work in tandem with an antipsychotic or a mood stabilizer, and that really helps you for maximum results.
Well, Jules, thank you so much for coming and joining me and doing this video on electroconvulsive therapy. I hope that everybody learned something new. I learned a lot of new things, and I might consider ECT in the future.
Ooh.
I'm intrigued. So thanks so much for coming by.
No
It's
problem.
been nice. Bye, guys.
Bye.